Hello fellow survivors, and welcome back to Kyle Can't Game, your one-stop shop on YouTube for all things related to Jurassic Awakening. No silly jokes, no self-deprecation, and no calls to action this time. We have too much to discuss and need to get straight into it. The last week has been a wash, not only with new content in Jurassic Awakening, but entire new systems and new mechanics. The mod is getting incredibly complex and deep and rich, and I'm here to help you parse it all out, so let's get started. First off, Patreon and Early Access. The largest news coming out is that the Jurassic Awakening team has created a Patreon page, and along with that comes early access to content in the mod. So here's the deal. The mod cost a good amount of money to create and a huge investment of time from the developers. They are wholly committed to keeping Jurassic Awakening 100% free of charge. So in order to give people a way to give back, they've started a Patreon. There are 4 tiers of membership, and each obviously comes with its own unique benefits. However, I want to make it clear, they have said that there will be zero content locked behind being a Patreon member. Everything that goes into the early access testing sections of the game will eventually be released to the public for free. The Patreon just gets you access to the early access content, allowing you to become a playtester of sorts, and it gets you access to a special section of their Discord to discuss the new content. The early access items will be unlocked by putting in the early access code in the Jurassic Awakening setting panel. As we all know, Jurassic Awakening has all the content of its own standalone game. It just happens to be built on top of Ark Ascended. So please, if you have the means, show your appreciation by joining their Patreon. I don't want to give too much away, but the early access features released immediately upon this news include a new crafting station with 3 different consumables, a new boat, a new cooking structure, new bear traps, and a new bola. Now, getting into content ready for full release, we need to start with some major changes to ancient creatures. First off, all ancient creatures take 50% more XP to level up, but the stats gained per level are 30% larger. So taming an ancient creature will be a slow but powerful investment for those who prefer putting in the effort to getting them. Individually, huge changes were also made to several of the ancients. The Deinosuchus now is 5% slower on land and 12% slower in water. Its carry weight was increased by 15% and health increased by 8%. Stamina recovery is greatly reduced, and the damage radius of the tail whip was increased by 10%. Its knockback has been increased by 50%, going alongside an entirely new ability that allows your ancient Deinosuchus to activate a healing effect on your dino for 15 minutes just by going into the water. The ancient Sarco has also had some new content. The roll spin attack now swings out and damages a 25% larger area. 5% damage increase to the death roll attack, and a 5-second cooldown added to it as well. It also has a brand new ability. It now empowers smaller swamp creatures to be much stronger and more aggressive. Being in the presence of a tamed ancient Sarco now boosts the DPS of all Sarcos, Capros, Diplo Hunters, Spinos, Megalosaurus, and berries by 50%. Imagine that you can have an entire badass swamp army all being passively boosted stronger than a Yudi's roar just by sitting in the back of the battle playing general, sitting on top of your Empire State Building sized crocodile. And lastly, for ancients, some updates to the ancient Gigantopithecus. The AI has been fixed and it is now very aggressive if you enter its territory, which is a fact that I can personally testify to. The aggro distance is larger than swamp ancients. 15% increase to damage, 40% increase to wild health, and 20% increase to tamed health. These redwoods creatures are intended to be a pretty big step up in difficulty and strength compared to swamp ancients. Moving past ancients, let's discuss the other new creatures in the game. The grasslands and redwoods Anzu has been added, both as very rare spawns. The Anzu will make a nest in the wild, and then you need to steal its egg. Pretty simple. Once tamed, you can ride the Anzu without a saddle, and it has a basic bite attack on the ground and a leg kick attack when fluttering in the air. The Anzu's real power is at your base though, as a good old mommy milkers. The Anzu can help raise any babies, and it will perch down and take care of them and imprint on your behalf while you're away. It will also act as a trough, so fill it with food, and it will feed the food to any babies when they get hungry. I am so looking forward to a dino that can help with breeding that's easier to get than a Gigantoraptor. Other new dinos include a large Hyaenodon variant, because the bastards weren't annoying enough already, a large Arctic Ovis for all your mutton needs, a large thorny dragon as a grassland spawn, which sounds dope AF honestly, an Arctic Titanosaur, and, last but certainly not least, an Arctic Carcharodontosaurus. These are tameable with the vanilla method and have custom loot, and the saddle has a 25% drop chance. First one of you psychos to tame one of these will get a shout out on my next video. It looks amazing. New creature abilities and content. So moving on to new abilities, we have a laundry list here as well. The first one's not necessarily a new ability, but large beaver, large doedicurus, and large anky have had their harvest amount increased by a whopping 65%, and their hit range increased by 50% to make sense for how large they are of creatures. The Saber-Tooth King Roar ability now has a purpose. It empowers all nearby sabers, wolves, and hyaenodons with 35% DPS boost, 100% XP gain, and 15% movement speed increase. So yes, go get yourself an army of all those wolves, sabers, and hyaenodons and make yourselves invincible. By the way, the Roar buffs its own DPS and XP by 10%, so even if you're out there solo, don't forget to use this new ability. The Grizzly Bear now has the ability to rage, which will cause the grizzly to stand, growl, and immediately do 50% increased damage with all attacks for a burst of 9 seconds with a 75-second cooldown. And the large Anki has been given a Fortify ability. Activating this will harden their armor plating, reducing all incoming damage by 30% for the next 20 seconds of combat. This ability has a 60-second cooldown. Both tamed and wild Ankis have this ability now. There are now numerous new Quetzal saddles with a huge variety of both regular and platform saddle upgrades that can drop as loot. Due to how rare the Quetzal is, there's a 25% chance for each corpse to drop a BP or a pre-crafted saddle. This was number one of ultimately 3 major updates to the ocean content in the game. Part 1 reworked ocean spawns and coded in the framework, density, ocean life types, and levels that will be the structure of an entire new world. There will be a new toggle on the Jurassic Awakening setting panel for server admins and single player to enable oceans blooming with life. Clicking it and hitting save will repopulate the oceans with a massive world of ocean life much different than Vanilla Ark. However, it's disabled by default. The ocean accounts for about 40% of the map and 40% of the creatures on the map, so it's going to be hard on your PC or console to basically double the content in that area. It's not recommended for console single player or 20 pop low RAM Nitrado servers. However, if your system or server can handle it, make sure you click that box and enable the new density of ocean life. And just a note, the new content will be available in the ocean whether you click that box or not. The box will strictly tell the game how many different creatures and how densely to populate the ocean. Even if you have a weak console like my Series S, I'd still recommend trying it out and seeing for yourself. You never know, and honestly, given how well optimized the Jurassic Awakening guys make the mod compared to Vanilla Ark, it wouldn't surprise me if it still worked pretty well. Part 2 of the Oceans update will be live in the next 1 to 3 days, which very well might be before this video releases because, let's be honest, your boy's workflow is slower than molasses on a January morning. But that update will be adding to the variety and uniqueness of the ocean life. I've seen the creature list and let's just say it's exactly as impressive and immersive as you have come to expect from this mod. Part 3 should arrive this weekend and will include the new gear, ocean loot, and boats. Now guys, hey, listen, they're adding new boats. They're redoing the oceans. They're making them harder. They're making them wholly unique. That, to me at least, says that the center is super close to being ready for release, and I am so excited. Alright guys, I need to start wrapping this up, but seriously, I didn't even cover half of what's in these patch notes for these releases. The balance updates and bug fixes section alone are pages long. Please get on their Discord and check it out for yourself, and don't forget to always make bug reports if you feel like you've come across a bug. These guys take their work very seriously, but they can only fix issues that they're aware of. All the relevant links you need will be included in the description, and eventually I will have individual videos on all this new content. The ocean stuff is going to get its own new video. Some of this stuff from early access is going to get its own video as well when it's fully tested and bug-proof and ready for release. If you made it this far, thank you for watching, and as always, thanks to the Jurassic Awakening team for making something I love so much and allowing me to play it free of charge, and now for giving me the ability to properly thank them with a Patreon membership.